The session is going to be taken by Ms. Beth Gashura. We are going to have the session. So Ms. Beth Gashura, welcome so much.
Beth,
if you can hear me. It seems Beth is not ready, or as we give her time to sort a few things, then we can possibly just introduce ourselves in the chat box. Kindly tell us where you're tuning in from, possibly the field you're coming in from, and what you do for a living, the country you're in. I see Karanja from Kenya. He's a data analyst. Welcome so much, Karanja. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hussein Osman from Kenya. Mark Parafina from Philippines. Thank you so much and welcome. Farah Majedi is an M&E at World Vision Afghanistan. So many of you from Malawi, from Geneva, Yemen, Cambodia. Thank you so much and welcome. Welcome so much. I think Ms. Beth Gashura is ready and she's joined us. Beth, if you can hear me, we're ready when you are.
Yes, I am ready. Good.
Thank you so much.
I know in different time zones. So, but in Kenya, I'm in Kenya and it's afternoon already here. So good day to all.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me in this forum. It's my first time here and I'm delighted to be bringing what I think is a very timely conversation to us today. We'll be looking at mediation. We are looking at mediation. Let me know if you can see my screen from where you are. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Beth, we can see your screen.
All right.
I can see the screen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm sorry, my video, for some reason, my video is not coming on my camera, seems to have a problem, but I've logged in with another gadget that shows my photo. My deepest apologies and sincere apologies about this hitch. So as I've just mentioned, today we are focusing on mediation as a catalyst of humanitarian principles. I do understand that we are drawn, or most of us are drawn from the humanitarian area background. And so we'll be looking at mediation as an ADR, as a source of, or a mechanism of resolving conflict and disputes. This is a very interesting conversation. And from how I want us to approach, the approach I want us today is probably provoke your thoughts and your actions to appreciate the role you play. And because you could apply this in one time or another, you could be the mediator in your workplace and in the different communities that you serve across the globe. I know we are coming from different regions, different countries, and this is a conversation that possibly we are going to take it further from here. It's the first series on a webinar series. We hope to have other sessions coming after today to delve deeper, because there are short time, we have about an hour or so, might not be enough for us to clearly do a deep dive into the subject of mediation. So in this session, I thought for us to create context, we need to look at conflict and understand conflict as a barrier. Conflict is a barrier to many things. It's a barrier to communication. It's a barrier to development. And then we'll also look at what is mediation as an ADR. I'll explain shortly what ADR is. We'll also look at the mediation process and how to prepare for it. And then we'll also look at the role of the mediator. And from that, then we'll ask ourselves, what are the next steps? And then we can close the session. I do believe you're going to have an interesting session. And so from wherever you are, once again, karibuni sana, that's how we say it in Kenya, and welcome to this session. I'm looking forward to engaging with all of us in this session. And so to start us off, I want you to look at your screen and you tell me, what do you see? what do you see happening on that screen? So let me look at what your responses will be. Looking at your screen, tell me, what do you see? Someone says perspective. I'm assuming Mohammed says a perspective. Let me see, what do you understand? What do you see from my screen? Let's keep this fast and going because we don't have so much time. Doesn't have to be, there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, giraffe drawing, what it is seeing only. Someone else is seeing a painter. Excellent. A giraffe drawing a hat. That's what you see. Hussein sees a giraffe and a lady. Rahila sees giraffe, 2 circles, giraffe painting, point of view. One side visualization. Maybe two more, and to see. I see someone say they see giraffe admiring a lady. Yeah, that's what they see. The giraffe is admiring a lady. A giraffe drawing a lady, how the giraffe is looking at the lady, a painter who sees a prospect. Now, from that already, what does it tell you? We see different things. When we look at this, we don't see the same thing. And so that it is what is introducing a conflict. This picture gives us a very good foundation as I bring in what conflict is. Because conflict is basically two people or more than two people, the way they see something, the way they perceive, the way you feel. It's very different from the way someone else sees, the way someone else sees. So this is a giraffe. The giraffe was given one thing to draw this lady, but from the giraffe's perspective, they drew something like 2 circles. And so then the next question I'm going to ask to us, still on the same image, was the giraffe right or wrong? The giraffe was meant to draw the lady, and we all can see the lady. She's wearing a beautiful hat, but the giraffe drew like those 2 round circles. What would you say? Was the giraffe right or was the giraffe wrong? The Juma says absolutely right, correct. Giraffe is only seeing an umbrella, wrong. Someone else says wrong, right. Right. And maybe you can defend your right. Why do you think the giraffe is right or wrong? If I was just to ask us very briefly in 2 words or a sentence, why are you saying right? He's right from his point. Okay, it's moving quite fast. The comments are moving fast and furious. He managed to draw what he can see. I like that. It was right as I was drawing an aerial, or sorry, right because of what it is seeing. That is how he understood. Right because of what it can see, yeah, based only on what it sees, right because of the position. All right, we will move on. And that is again how it is with conflict. The giraffe drew what he can see, but does that make it right? Of course, what he could see was just the heart, maybe from an aerial perspective, but there was a lady. And so the giraffe is neither right or wrong, but that is how in conflict, anytime you have an issue, it all depends on what you see. And you could be completely right from what you see, but does that mean you can see the complete picture? So moving on, conflict is usually likened a lot with an iceberg, because with an iceberg, what we see is the tip of an iceberg, but underneath the iceberg is a real thing, a lot that we do not see. Look at that iceberg on your screen. That is how conflict is. When it comes to conflict, it's likened to an iceberg. And what we see is the event, all right? But being underneath, below that is perceptions, because all of us have different perceptions. Below conflict is usually attitudes, values, culture, interests, gender, even gender. Do you agree that even gender causes us to see things differently? Sometimes our communication style is not the same. Our feelings dictate or they inform what we see, depending on what are you feeling it. Our needs too, they tend to dictate what we see, and also our moods, our expectations, and especially now bringing it closer to where you guys are and where you serve in different communities. Different communities, some people feel the expectations aren't met. And so those expectations being met or not being met, it brings, but I mean, it gives birth to conflict. Assumptions, and we have most of them, what we call bias. Every one of us here has our own bias and our own lens from how we see and interpret things that we see. From that picture already, you can tell we all see different things, we interpret different things. Our suspicions, and may I add also threats. I could have I could be perceiving threats of one kind, whether they are real or not, as long as I am suspicious or you are suspicious, then this gives birth to conflict, all right? We will move a bit fast, and if I'm very fast, also feel free to tell me to slow down. I tend to be a very fast speaker. So what is conflict? So we have those guys in there, you see conflict, and maybe in your own language. Also, what do you understand conflict to be? Conflict is basically anytime two or more people have a different view, a different opinion, a different ideas or even wants concerning anything. Conflict is everywhere. It is with us at home. It is with us in our workplaces, in your office, in your community, in nation, and even globally, we have conflict. And this is basically driven because we have all different thoughts, opinions, wants, or ideas. And this can be good or bad. This is what we say in conflict. It can be good or bad depending on the type of conflict. And maybe you're wondering, how can conflict be good? I will explain how conflict can also be good. Conflict is also an expressed struggle between at least two interdependent parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from others. And I think this is why I was saying this also gives, in the backdrop of, we know there's a lot of global conflict going on right now. I want for you to type for me on the chat section some of the global conflicts that you know of. Some of the global conflict that you know of, because global conflict is real. It's arrived. Also Gaza and Israel. Yeah, thank you. That is the most recent one and the most it's going on right now. Afghanistan over resources. Thank you for that. Any other global? West China Sea and Philippines, Ukraine, Russia, effect. Those are global conflicts and many others. It's also other. Interesting, thank you. Thank you. So these are but some of just what a global conflict is. And global conflict, we cannot run away from it. We cannot hide ourselves. We cannot bury our heads under the sand, so to speak. We have to be willing to just face it, and pollution and dispossession. Yeah, that's correct. So what are some of the sources of conflict? Just like what you mentioned right now, scarcity of resources is a source of conflict. Lack of basic human needs, like lack of water, lack of or access to healthcare, can cause conflict, and it does cause conflict. Competing interests, human beings, we have competing interests. Another cause of conflict is greed. I totally agree with you. Greed is a cause of conflict. We also say competing interests, because you're competing over these scarce resources. So this gives birth and it causes conflict. We also have existential threats and perceptions. I say some of the things we really fight about as human beings, as global citizens, some of them are just driven by perceptions, all right? Also establish internal expectations of one another that are not communicated. If you don't communicate your needs and you don't communicate your expectations, then this gives birth to conflict. Internal expectations of others not communicated, this gives birth to conflict. And the most basic thing is because different points of view. We are as many, how many of us are on this call right now? I don't know, but as many as we are on this call, every one of us have different attitudes, different points of view regarding many things. And so we can even right here, we could have conflict already going on. Yeah, and that is conflict, lack of humanity. Yeah, some people just lack humanity, the basic of it, and we cannot hide ourselves away from it. So what are the characteristics of conflict? Like it is going on at the Middle East right now between Palestine and Israel. It is becoming destructive. A lot of people have been distracted across the world. This one global conflict, or even let's take it back, the war conflict between Russia and Ukraine, it distracts many, it distracts us from focusing on other issues. It can also be destructive, destruction of human life, destruction of resources, destruction of the things around us. And you see what is happening in there. And so when I said conflict can actually be destructive, it really is. You don't even have to look so far and wide. It is just right there before you. Conflict now, again, it can be hidden. Like I'm saying right here, maybe we already have conflict going on. Maybe since we began these webinars earlier, or even the session that was before mine as we began, or this morning, we've had conflict, and sometimes it can be hidden until sometimes it comes out, because it cannot be hidden for long. These are some, but some of the basic characteristics of conflict. And I say conflict management is a part of every leader's toolbox. And for us to be leaders, I believe all of us are leaders here, because we having a title or not having a title does not make you less of a leader. So conflict management is an issue and a skill and a competence that every one of us in today's world, if you Google, if you just even look at skills of the future, one of them that you'll need to, in the way, because our world has become very dynamic, disruptions everywhere. And so these conflicts are coming at us fast and furious. Technology, even right now you're using technology, but as technology keeps on advancing, it causes some of these things. And so for us, wherever we are leaders. Wherever we are leaders at home, we are leaders in our communities, we are leaders in our organizations or small groups. Wherever you are, you're a leader. And I can assure you, building your skills and your competence in managing conflict is one of the skills that will do you good in moving from to the future. Let us now look quickly at types of conflict. This is very shallow. I'm moving very fast because conflict is a topic that ordinarily cover in about minimum 2 hours, just conflict as a topic. But because really we are going to discuss mediation, but I thought we could give context. So types of conflict. There's conflict within people, within yourself, within myself. I could be having conflict right now. I'm going through issues in my life. You're going through issues in your life. And so within you, you have conflict. And that is what we call, or we refer to as intrapersonal conflict. We also have conflict between people or between groups, between communities, between nations, between boundaries, between jurisdictions. This is called it could be interpersonal, it could also be intergroup or between nations. Then we have conflict within groups or within communities. Even in your office, you have conflict going on right there. That is called intragroup conflict. Then between groups, bigger organizations, boundaries, and then we have this is intergroup. These are types of conflict. Just one way of looking at types of conflict. All right. And so what are some of the styles when it comes to resolving conflict? I will just mention in passing again, because we could look at this and do a debate on every one of these. I'll try explain all of them. And in us handling conflict, some of us avoid. One of the styles of managing or resolving conflict is avoiding. Maybe you could tell me instances where we avoid conflict. Avoiding is basically you don't want to look at it. You don't even want to recognize it. You know it is there, but you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to face it. That is called avoiding. When you're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding an issue because maybe your personality, there are people who are they say they're not antagonistic by nature. For them, it's relax and chill. They would rather not face an issue. And so what they do is, or what we do, or even a nation could avoid. You just know it's there, but you're not even ready. You don't want to face it. That style is called avoiding. However, we say in conflict management that you can only avoid for some time. There's a way you cannot avoid conflict forever. If it is there, it will come and it will face you. So the faster you deal with conflict, we say the best day to ever handle conflict or face it is yesterday. And the next best day is today. So maybe in your organization, you have an issue and you can tell here, things are not going quite right. There's an issue. There's an issue in my office. There's an issue in my home or my community, but everyone is burying their heads under the sand and no one wants to look at it. I mean, that is avoidance, but you need to rise and say, guys, something is going on wrong here and we need to talk about it. The other style of conflict resolution, I said instances. If you can give me instances or examples where you think we apply this style of dealing with conflict, the style of avoiding. Is there instances or examples you'd want to just mention where people practice or where you have been or you have seen people do this kind of style? They just avoid conflict. They just avoid it. They don't want to face it. Someone says, we don't want to talk about the conflicts. Yeah, we don't want to talk about because, and that is an illusion really, a silent treatment between a wife and a husband, perfect. You know there's something wrong, a husband knows, but they don't want to look at it. In a workplace, that is very common in workplaces because sometimes the culture in our workplaces and in our offices does not allow or does not encourage for people to confront conflict. Maintain work ethics at workplace. I agree with you, but that is usually very artificial. At some point, it does rear its ugly head, and then you have to face it. Between a supervisor and staff, many times, should be professional. Maybe you, I don't know. Yeah, in dealing with conflict at all times, we should keep it very professional. Within the community, neighborhood, you can avoid sexual abuses within families, that especially in African context. And I was here when we were introducing the different countries where we come from. This one for sexual abuse is a big one. It's the big one. People don't want to face it. People would rather bury it under the carpet and hide it under the carpet and not talk about it. But think about what it does to the victim or to the weaker party in this particular instance. Yeah, thank you so much. Perfect examples, perfect examples. The other style is called competing. This is where you have one party in a dispute. One party is either their way or the highway. Their way has to win the day. So they are competing. They don't even care about the other person. For them, is at the end of it is their solution that is taken. It is the idea that wins the day. It is them who win the resource. And competing is a dangerous style. And some people are competitive by nature. And it's not because they want, again, it's because of our temperaments and our temperaments, really. Some people want to shine in everything, including in conflict, but it's a very dangerous way of dealing with conflict, a very, very dangerous way. Do you have examples of competing? People who compete, they have to win. I mean, they don't even care about the other party. For them, it is them. They have to have the last say on whatever issue that is on the table. Maybe they are here. Maybe we have some of us who are like that. We work with this kind of people. We live with them. Some of them, we are married to them. Or maybe we are the one. We have to win. We have to win an argument. We have to win. Our opinion is the one that matters most than anyone else. Yeah, I mean, there are people who are like that. And maybe, reach against power when a case is at court. Yeah, some people, they have to win. It's just them. And because they want to flex muscles. Like this rich against poor, there are people who feel I have the financial muscle. I know the right people. I know the right offices. So I have to win. Competition is also about outperforming others' excellence. And when looking for promotion, yeah, because you have to get it. So to some people, in some extent, this might sound extreme, but it does happen. There are people we know, they even have to kill competitors. For example, in politics, they are okay eliminating their opponents, because at the end of the day, or when they're competing for something, it's either their way or no way. It's either their way or no way. But this is a very dangerous, and it's important for you to be self-aware what kind of a person you are. These are tests we usually do for you for it to reveal. There are some tests that we usually do for you to know yourself and to reveal what kind of styles you usually embrace. The other one is accommodating. Accommodating is a very good style. It just says, I hear you, and I'm going to give part of mine. I will accommodate your view. I will accommodate your view. We are having this thing on the table. And so what I'll do is I will accommodate part of your view in resolving whatever conflict that is on the table. So accommodating is basically hearing others out and wanting to also see things from their side a bit. I want to accommodate you, but again, I still have mine, but I'm willing to accommodate you a bit. That is also a style in conflict resolution. The other one is compromising. Compromising is I'm willing to cede some ground. I am willing to cede some ground for you. I am willing to compromise this because I see the bigger picture, or I have an understanding of the bigger picture. And so I will compromise. We call it a lose-lose game in compromising. It's a lose-lose thing, I'm willing to lose, the other party is willing to lose, and both of us meet at some point, maybe middle ground. It's no one is winning, both of us are willing to lose, and the other to lose at some point so that we can move forward. It's a very, very, I encourage us, for you when you're dealing with conflict, whether at home, or even in your workplace and in the communities you are coming from, try exercising compromise. It doesn't have to be your way always or the highway. Accommodate others and also compromise. The greatest of all the conflict resolution styles, the greatest of them, the holy grail of resolving conflict, we call it collaboration. And collaboration is we are working together. We are a team in resolving whatever matter is on the table. Whatever dispute that we are facing is on the table. Collaboration is actually how we should be moving forward in the future. Doesn't matter wherever you are. It doesn't matter the country you are, the jurisdiction where you are. Collaboration is the holy grail, and it should be that thing we all aim at, that we have a conflict, we have a dispute, but I'm willing to collaborate with you to work it out. Collaborate with you. So that is it in conflict resolution style. Again, we could do a deep dive on every one of these, giving examples. And we also have a test that we run on you. We ask questions, and the way you answer those questions reveals what kind of your personality you have when it comes to resolving conflict. I want to bring in a quote that I really love, and that says, resolving conflict is really about who is right. It is really about who is right. It is about acknowledgement and appreciation of differences. And it is one of the things, and perhaps one of the takeaways I would want for you to take away from this webinar today, as we are just laying a foundation. Most of the things I'm saying for today, being the first session in this webinar series, is most of the foundation, but it's one thing I would want for you to carry, is that resolving conflict is really about who is right. At home, at work, in your community, as a leader, it's not about who is right, but it's about acknowledging and appreciating that we all have differences. Okay, now quickly, we move on to mediation. My time is really gone. Our time is moving quite fast. So quickly, we are going to look at, we're going to introduce mediation. As an ADR, we are going to look at mediation process and the role of a mediator. We will know who the mediator is, and we also look at the characteristics and benefits of mediation. Now, what do we mean by ADR? ADR is basically means alternative dispute resolution, and this basically means less formal ways, less expensive and less time consuming than a trial or than litigation, than going to court. That if I have an issue, we have a dispute with Mohammed, for example, with Osman, for example, and we have an issue on the table, instead of us going to court, because for many years, this was always the way that we have a small dispute concerning anything, And so we rush to court. So alternative dispute resolution or dispute mechanisms rather is embracing other ways of resolving conflict and resolving disputes other than litigation. It covers many alternatives to traditional methods. It covers many alternatives and also traditional methods of resolving conflict or disputes. ADR, these mechanisms have been used as a tool in resolving workplace disputes arising from pure communication, maybe personality conflicts because we have different personalities, and maybe alleged discrimination. So types of ADR quickly, I'm just mentioning them because of time. Number one is mediation, where our focus is on this series. Mediation, we have arbitration, conciliation, and also now we have the traditional methods that have been in existence for many years. They are very informal, but they have always been there because mediation in its way, how it works, it's not a new thing. Mediation is not new at all. It has worked in many setups across the globe. It has always worked. What would happen is that a community would have this one person who is like a respected person in the society, a respected person in the community, who would bring in two disputing parties and create an environment where they can have a discussion and resolve the conflict. So it has always been in existence. It really not is. It's not a new concept. It's only that these days it is more structured. There are professional mediators who are treated their bodies that check characters of mediators. And so now it has become more structured, but it's really not a new thing. So what is mediation? I put a picture there because this is how you feel. Once you have resolved a dispute, the emotions, you can imagine the emotions and the feelings that you get out of resolving a conflict. It's really consistent with like this mother giving her daughter a hug. So mediation is really a voluntary process. It's confidential and it's a participant-centered. It is driven by participants in negotiating the disputes. The negotiation process is really facilitated by a mediator. And a mediator is just a neutral third party who assists the disputants, or really the parties who are in a conflict or a dispute, to work in a way that is acceptable to all. Just referring back to where we came, the styles of resolving conflict. I said collaboration is the highest of all of them, where all of us should aim to go collaboration. So mediation really wants to bring the parties together, to have them collaborate, or at least compromise and work together and accommodate each other in resolving whatever conflict that they have. And this is driven by a third party who is supposed to be very, very neutral in whatever dispute that is. I thought I would not mention mediation. I will not even discuss mediation without mentioning what we call in mediation. And because we are drawn from different countries, we have in mediation what we call the Singapore Convention. And the Singapore Convention on Mediation basically means it's a uniform and efficient framework for international settlement agreements resulting from mediation. It applies to international settlement agreements resulting from just disputes that are there, and mostly commercial disputes. And this Singapore Convention was designed to serve an essential instrument. Just a second. I'm sorry, the Singapore Convention was designed to serve as an essential instrument in the facilitation of international trade and in the promotion of mediation as an alternative and effective method of resolving trade disputes. It ensures that an international mediated settlement, the agreement that is reached by both parties, becomes binding, and it's enforceable under a simplified and very streamlined procedure. It therefore helps to strengthen access to justice and the rule of law, and promote certainty and stability in the field of international commercial mediation. I just want us quickly to look at what this the Singapore Convention, in terms of numbers. There are 56 countries who are member signatories to the convention. This is at 16th of October this month, basically where we are now, as at yesterday, actually. These are the 56 member countries, or 56 signatories. The last one that joined the convention is Japan, and we have 12 number of countries that have ratified the convention so far. So Japan has been the latest one, and we celebrate Japan for the strides and the milestone they are gaining in doing things. I believe we are together up to there. I want to look quickly at what are the emerging trends. And now, because we are drawn from the humanitarian background, what are some of the emerging trends when it comes to using mediation as a tool in advancing development as an instrument of peace? So mediation is being used in many countries to improve humanitarian access. It is also being used to resolve conflicts within and between communities. It is being used to enhance participation of affected groups and communities when you are in project design, when you are designing your projects, when you're planning and implementing the different projects. That is your language. I know very well that's the language that you speak. And so mediation is becoming a critical tool in project design, in planning and implementation. It also, because it facilitates constructive dialogue between the different humanitarian actors. There are many actors in humanitarian. And so in bringing them together and getting them, the focus is this: we are on the same page, we are reading the same things, we are saying the same things, and we are moving together. It really does help in facilitating those kinds of dialogues. And also really in the general provisions and principles of humanitarian, we know there's something like neutrality as one of the humanitarian principles. It really does play a big role. And again, it's one of the skills that you may need to learn moving forward in your different roles. You know, we are not all in roles that we maybe front-facing or customer-facing directly, so to say, but all of us need to have these skills. It could go a long way for us to realize the success of our different projects where we are. Mediation confronts humanitarian crisis with a range of ethical and logical questions. We are just ask ourselves, what are some ethical and logical questions? It is a critical tool in building and peace. The word that is missing there is peace. Mediation has become a very critical tool in building, promoting peace. Am I speaking so fast? Let me see some reactions from Am I speaking so fast? Okay, I will answer some of these questions as we go. Just please note them, note the questions at the very tail end. We will look at this, all right? So let's look at just some and parts of the characteristics of mediation. Thank you all for your participation. I have a lot of pictorials because I speak for a living. I teach adults, and I know it's easy to drift. And right now, especially, you cannot see my face. Try not to drift. That I have a lot of pictorials. So characteristics of mediation. Our time is quite spent, so I'll highlight some of these. Mediation is really party-driven. As a mediator, my work, and because here we are talking about facilitative mediation, there are different kinds of mediation, but for the one that I'm bringing out and the one I'm speaking on today, the one I'm speaking to today is called facilitative mediation, whereby the mediator is a neutral third party bringing in different parties. There could be two or more parties and bringing them to converse. So the first characteristics of mediation, which is very important for you to note, it is entirely party-driven. It's entirely party-driven. The two parties are the ones who drive it. The mediator is for the mediator's work, which we'll see at the end. The role of mediator is just to facilitate. It's also a voluntary process. What we mean by that is that no one can coerce. You cannot coerce parties to come to mediation. A mediator could also be, it's very important I mention, a mediator could be a single person, like I am a mediator. A mediator could also be a country. For example, in the global conflict that is going on at the Middle East, we have already begun seeing some nations, some countries saying they are willing to be mediators. Even here in Africa, the crisis that has been there in Niger, for example, I heard that there's a country in Africa that has offered itself as a mediator in the ongoing crisis in the Ansar region of Africa. So it doesn't have to be a person really, it can be a legal entity that also drives the process of mediation. However, it is very voluntary. You cannot coerce parties to come to it. They must understand there is work that you do as a mediator to talk to them, but then you cannot coerce them to participate if they're not willing to do that. Mediation, by the way, by its characteristics, it's a very confidential process. In Kenya, for example, because the judicial system in Kenya has embraced mediation. And in fact, in Kenya, we have, and I know across many other countries, what is called the court annexed mediation. So what happens is that all these civil disputes, other than criminal, the civil disputes that go to court, right now we have a registrar in mediation, a mediation registrar in the judicial system in Kenya. So what they do, they screen cases. And most of the cases are referred to mediation. Most of them, especially like succession cases, even cases to do with divorce, to do with children custody, to do with commercial disputes, labor disputes. When they go to court, the court in Kenya system, I would speak for it because I know, they screen, and a number of those cases, like more than half of those cases are referred first to go to mediation. So what the court does, the court appoints a mediator to listen to the matter, and whatever they agree, it's very, very confidential, so that even what they agree, what the two parties agree on mediation, it does not go back to the court to be discussed. It's a very confidential process. For us who are in private mediation, like myself, it's a very, very confidential purposes. Already, even in private mediation, whatever agreement the two parties or the more than two parties get to, we go and we file them to court. It's binding and it's enforceable by court, but I cannot tell the court, I cannot disclose to the court what the discussions were all around. I hope you understand me on that. So it's a very confidential process. It's very flexible, very, very flexible, as it is party driven. So it is very informal. It gives an informal, but has a lot and immense benefits that we'll be looking at later. And maybe I just could bring that on right now. What we call mediation ethics. My time is gone. We'll be wrapping up shortly. Again, I say, for today's webinar, we were just laying a foundation to create awareness of mediation as an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. So there are many others for today, really, we are not delving deeper into any of those. We are just mentioning and highlighting as we go. So on mediation ethics, I'll first begin by highlighting mediator qualities. And the reason for this is you could be a mediator in your work office. You could bring two parties in your office that are not agreeing. In your community where you are, you will also likely to serve the role of a mediator. At home, you can also use the same skills in mediating between two parties, or in your community, you can be a resource in your community in that regard. So for mediator qualities, one of the things you need to be is to be empathetic. Empathy, again, is a skill, or it's a trait for the future. It is hard for anyone to assist or support any two people when you cannot feel, when you just empathize with them. So one of the most desirable quality of a mediator is empathy. The next one is higher standards of integrity, honesty, and in conduct and behavior. A mediator must also have the ability to be neutral. I have already said that a mediator is basically neutral. Neutral, you don't take sides at all. And also, the ability to be objective and to work beyond any prejudice. You're not prejudiced in any way. That is one of desirable qualities as a mediator. You must also be a good communicator. And also, because in communicating, it's both in speaking and also listening. Some of the things we say, you have to be an active listener. And listening means hearing what's not being said. Listening also means reading where there are gaps, or reading where someone is not comfortable with an issue. It's all that goes into communication. You must be able to communicate in that matter, and you'll see maybe one of the parties in a dispute is uncomfortable about discussing anything. And so you must be able to bring that out, or to break that barrier as a mediator. You must be open-minded and flexible as a mediator. That's very desirable. the ability to be attentive, sorry for that typo that is on your screen, the ability to be attentive, active, and a patient listener. I remember being in a dispute that took 8 hours and this was a family dispute. And we sat for 8 hours and we still did not get to an agreement. It takes patience, a lot of patience in playing out this role. It's not easy, but patience is really, because you're not driving it, the parties are driving it. So you really go at their pace as a mediator. So persistence, perseverance are also desirable traits when it comes to mediation. So what is the role of the mediator? I'm going to interchange this and come directly to the role, then we'll go to the process, and then we'll go to the mediation process as we bring this to a close. What is the role of a mediator? The role of a mediator is to create a conducive environment for two disputant parties. It is not as easy as it sounds right now, because you can imagine some people do not see eye to eye, okay? They don't see eye to eye, there's anger, there's flaring emotions, someone is having a frenzy and a meltdown, and you're supposed to create a conducive environment. Even in an office, I've mediated office-related or workplace-related disputes, and one person just breaks down. When they feel they're the weaker party, they break down and they start crying. And you have to give them space. You know, you have to give them space and create a very conducive environment. So yeah, it's very, very important. Then you have, the mediator explains the process and the ground rules. We'll be looking at that process shortly as we bring this to a close. Then the other role is, of course, to facilitate communication between the parties, because some parties do not just want to talk. Some people come to mediation sessions and they're dumbfounded, they are quiet. They're not willing to talk. So you have to do a bit of prodding. You have to do a bit of just bringing it out. Whatever that barrier is that is stopping them from communicating, you must be able as a mediator to break it and just facilitate that communication. And that is what we mean by identifying obstacles to communication, and then you remove the obstacles. Speaking, communicating, negotiating is not easy. It is a process by itself. It's not easy. A mediator must also be able to gather information about the dispute, to gather as much as possible information. Doesn't mean that you are offering solution, no, but you need to know exactly what am I dealing with? What is for me on the table? Then you also have to identify underlying interests and positions. And also for the last one I will mention there is to control the process. So the process is you establish trust. The mediator establishes trust in the mediation process, ensure it is safe for all parties to proceed with the process. It is safe. Some people workplace, they don't feel safe to talk about their boss when their boss is sitting right there with them. Some people don't feel it's safe talking about a threat, someone else who is a threat in the community, and that person is right there with them. So you must create that safe environment for people to be able to proceed with the process. The other role is to ensure mediation is the best process, and this comes in pre-mediation. There are cases that will come to you as a mediator and realize this cannot. This from my screening and my knowledge, my experience, I don't think mediation is the best. For example, any matter touching on sexual assault, that one really does not go through mediation. Matters touching on sexual assault, matters touching on criminality, then those are not the matters you want to involve in. And actually the Constitution doesn't, we don't have the jurisdiction to listen to such matters, and make it clear even to the parties when they come that any matters touching on anything that is against the Constitution of whichever country you are, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, sexual assault, you just make it clear to the parties. Much as you want to come and have it on mediation, this is beyond me. It has to go through the normal judicial process. I trust we are together as far as that is concerned. The other part of the process to prepare the clients, it's in pre-mediation, and clarify the goals of mediation while being impartial and embracing ethical practice at all times. I want to look at the chat section, what is coming in there. I know our time is really on. For my moderator, please feel free to stop me. Please feel free to stop me if my time is quite spent. So quickly, very, very quickly, I'll just highlight what we call the mediation process. The mediation process usually has 9 steps. The first steps start with the mediator's opening statement. They make they have mentioned. Then the parties also make their opening statements. After that, with the help of the mediator, the parties, the disputing parties, come up with an agenda. And then the next stage is to explore each of the agenda. This is also, I could teach this mediation process in about 2 hours just by itself. So I'm just highlighting again. So exploration stage is where you go through the agenda one by one. And then after that, you explore the options, you generate options for each of the agenda. For the agenda, what's the way forward? There's something we call private sessions in mediation. This is whereby the mediator sits with the different parties separately without the other party. And the reason is to delve deeper and to understand the party is taking the position they are taking. So the mediator takes each party equal time and then see just to hear their viewpoint and just to listen to them. Those are called private sessions. And again, what comes from the private sessions is confidential. It usually is not brought back when we come back to the session. We don't discuss what we discuss in the private sessions unless the parties themselves bring it up. From there, we negotiate the matters further, and we are looking for solutions. And if we get to an agreement, then the next stage is usually documenting an agreement and documenting any agreement that the parties have come to. And then the closing statements by all the parties, by both parties, and then the mediator now makes the very final one. I've just highlighted something that I would ordinarily train in 2 hours, the mediation process. And so in conclusion, I want to end it here and say, and end by a quote by Albert Einstein that says, peace cannot be kept by force. You know, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And my call to us is to let go the desire to be right. Let go the desire to be right. There's a guy you see on that picture. There's a man. A story is told about a man who fell into a pit. This is how I want to close. A story is told about a man who fell into a pit, and a very deep pit he couldn't see. And as he felt in that pit and he was crying out for help and he was calling out for help, a doctor came by. The doctor wrote a prescription, and the doctor threw the prescription to the man in the pit. Then came in a clergy, a clergy representing the clergy. And this guy was able to tell this is clergy from how they were dressed. Then the clergy wrote down a prayer and dropped the prayer to the guy right at the bottom of the pit. Then that person to come by was this guy's friend. His friend came along, and his friend jumped to the pit. And so the guy who had fallen to the pit was like, how stupid can you be? Why are you coming here? Where did you jump? Now we are here. Both of us are trapped in the pit. Why did you make such a stupid decision? And you came to the pit where I am, instead of maybe perhaps pulling me out, perhaps finding a way to get me out. And this is what the friend responded. And this is my call to us. And the friend said, I came here because I have been here before and I know the way out. I have been here before and I know my way out. And that is just bring the humanity, bringing that humane touch as we resolve conflict. It really does matter when you bring yourself to the level of the other person and tell them, I have been here before and I know the way out. Just by offering support to these people, it does go away. And that is empathy. When you take yourself low to the position, or you try get to see the situation from the other person's perspective and bring the humane touch to it. And so thank you. I think my time is gone. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. Thank you so much. It's been quite informative, precise, just couldn't add anything. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe we can take more like 5 more questions before we close the session. You can take 5 more questions. Beth, if you're there, you can also take on the questions. If you still have any questions, we can take them. Any comments as we come to a close? Yeah? Any comments? See John Kaunga. Gwe, thank you for the amazing presentation. Indeed, that was an amazing one. Quite informative. Any more questions? No hand is raised. No more questions. You can check the chat box for you know, we have a discount running until 30th of October. For anyone who has attended this webinar, we are offering a discount of 20% on all our courses. You can reach to us on the info it's given there at Strategia Netherlands NL. We'll be glad to point you to the right direction. Yeah, I guess people are just complimenting your good presentation, appreciating the good work, and
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I would appreciate questions. Maybe it's either they understood or either, I don't want to imagine I was talking to myself, but I hope I did try to make some awareness on what mediation is. Thank you so much. Thank you. There's someone who had asked some questions right as we were beginning. I have lost because of the many comments that are coming through. If you're still here, the person who had sent the question.
You can as well unmute and talk if you have a question. You don't have to chat it on the box. You can unmute yourself and just get the question verbally. We'll appreciate that as well. Rokeya Zevin, if you can hear me, you have a question?
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a really useful presentation. I would like to ask one question. Which type of conflict resolution is the most enduring and productive approach?
Okay, I'd ask you to repeat the question again if you don't mind. Come up again. Yeah. I can't quite understand what you were asking.
Yeah. Please come again.
Oh, yes. Which type of conflict resolution most enduring and productive approach?
Which type of?
Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
You are asking which one is the most efficient, which one is the most effective? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. It's effective.
Yeah, the most effective, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. She's taking us back to the conflict resolution styles that I had mentioned earlier. And I did say that the holy grail, the highest level of it is collaboration. Collaboration is the most recommended way because collaboration basically invites the other party to work with you in resolving a dispute or resolving conflict. So it is not easy to get there. It's not easy. It doesn't work for all people, but especially in workplaces, or even in communities, and even nations, so to say, collaboration is the highest. It's the highest level. It's the most desired level of conflict resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any other question?
No, ma'am.
No. Seems we don't have any question. Yeah. Mary's hand is up. Mary, yes, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, Mary.
Yes, I just wanted you to clarify on whether you were able to send to us the slides for the presentation today.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. So we have been live on Facebook as well as YouTube as from the first session that was on MLE. So that means then you can be able to access the YouTube videos even later for your reference. So yes, that is catered for. You can just check. I've put the links on the chat box. You can also write to us on that email, then we can provide you with the links. But yes, that information is there for your reference anytime.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? You can check the chat box. The links are being shared with you. The YouTube one is already there. And you're shortly getting the one for Facebook. Malik, your hand is up. Malik, if you can unmute yourself, your hand is up. Malik, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Malik. Kindly go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I have one question. Thank you for your very informative presentation.
Yes.
I'm asking for more information about political mediator correctness.
Please come again, Malik.
Hello?
Yes. You're asking about?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, Malik, we can hear you.
You've gone on mute now. Or maybe you could also type, as you get up, and you could also type your question.
Yeah, that would also help.
Yeah.
Mary, your hand is up again, or it's the first time? We can take your question as we wait for Malik to come up again.
I think that was for the first time. You've answered already, thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. Malik seems to have disappeared. Pramod, you're on. Pramod, did you have anything to say? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Beth. I think we have been exhaustive. Thank you so much for your time, participants. We really appreciate your finding time to, tune into this wonderful webinar. We'll be hosting, sorry? This is just one of the many that are coming in. Sorry, I can see Issa. Issa, your hand is up.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning from my own side.
Good afternoon from our side.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I just want to know the difference between accommodating and compromising, because I see a thin line between them.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we had you. Beth is gonna take that question. You asked the difference between accommodating and compromising.
Compromising, yes.
Okay. We'll have Beth take that question. Pramod, you also have a question as we wait for Beth to come on?
No, I think that's all. Yeah. Okay,
then we can answer you, Issa.
All right. They're actually very related, only that for compromise, it's in accommodating, you could have one party win, like I'm accommodating your view, or I'm accommodating your standpoint. That is accommodation. I'm accommodating you. We are two disputing parties, but in accommodating, one party accommodates the other. And so one party seems to win. But in compromising is that both of us, there's no win. It's a lose-lose. Both of us are ceding our ground. Both of us are accommodating each other, if I was to use the word accommodating. So it's not just one party in accommodating who is opening hands for the others, for the other party. In compromising, both parties cede ground and they meet in the middle ground. So there's no winner, or we call it, it's a lose-lose. I mean, there's no winner. It's just that each of the parties is willing to work with the other. Each of the parties, that is really basic. But also the line could be thin, depending again on the dispute at hand. I hope that it's helpful.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Thank you so much, Beth.
Welcome, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Issa. Pramod, you're on.
Hello.
Yes, Pramod, we can hear you.
Ma'am, I'm Mr. Pramod Kumar. I'm Indian, from India.
Okay. Welcome so much. What question do you have, Pramod?
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Any understanding? Any understanding?
Okay, if I get you well, you say you've understood everything?
No question, no question.
No question. Thank you so much, Pramod. Thank you. Okay, in view of time, we will end the session. Thank you so much for everyone who's gotten the time to join us. I'll want to remind you that we have a 20% discount on our courses. You can write to us on the information that is given, the email is given. This offer will run up to 30th October, so long as you have joined us for the webinar. All these courses, mediation, conflict resolution, M&E that we had done earlier, and much more that you will find on our websites. You can actually just reach us. We'll point in the right direction in terms of what is best for you, capacity build you. And we appreciate you guys for finding the time. And for the facilitators, thank you so much for the informative information that you've given us. Thank you so much. Look forward for more like this. This is just one of the many that will come. We will appreciate if you can join us again and again. We'll put our handles for the Facebook pages and YouTube. You can also check that for updates on what is coming up. Thank you so much. We come to the end of our session. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Well done. And to everyone. And like I said, you can watch this video, this presentation on our YouTube channel, Strategy Netherlands YouTube channel, and also visit our website to download funding resources for NGOs and for training opportunities. And thank you very much. And let's keep the community strong. Have a good day, have a good evening, good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.